Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Your Brain's Coach podcast, applied neuroscience for leaders, entrepreneurs, and high performers. Guys, on this podcast, today, congratulations, we are starting officially a rebranding of the podcast. So from now on, you're going to be hearing more and more of applied neuroscience, of those protocols, tools, lifestyle, nutrition, workflow, design of your environment, mental and physical, everything that surrounds you. All these protocols that combine leading-edge neuroscience research that I'm going to help you to apply to your life so you can do, feel, and look your absolute best. So the podcast is not going to be that much different, but the branding and the direction that it's going to be taking, it's going to be slightly different. It's all going to be around brain performance, the tools you can use to adjust your brain performance. So again, you can be your best, do your best, and achieve your goals much faster. This podcast has always been for high performance, for people into improving themselves, for people into learning new tools, right? But over the course of 5-year, I think it might be even more, 5-year journey, with this podcast, I've transitioned it a couple of times. And I think now, I'm much closer towards where I want it to be. I want this education about the science of being our best to be available globally to every single person on earth. I know it's kind of like a big goal, but I want to get as close to that as possible. And every single piece of content that I'm producing is on this mission, right? It just happens that way that our brain is the answer to all of that, to learning, to becoming our best selves. It cannot happen without the knowledge of how to use our brain. Today, guys, the podcast, by the way, is going to be about learning. You're going to learn 3 simple tools how to learn better so you can change faster, so you can reach and build your dream life faster and better, right? But first, I wanted to make this announcement, so pay attention. Then the logo of the podcast is changed now. And also the guest episodes I actually already scheduled for. We're going to have amazing applied neuroscience researchers and practitioners, people who help us to improve different aspects of our brain function through very specific protocols, right? So I have 4 book authors scheduled, and just stay tuned. They are amazing. I absolutely love their work, their books, and other work in this world. We're not going to be making and doing a lot of podcasts with people who are in digital nomad world or in remote work world. Maybe sometimes, I'm not sure, but the guest episode is going to be focused on experts who I'm going to ask all the questions that nobody else asked them, right? Trying to get as many practical tips and tools applied to life as possible. So stay tuned. And let's get to our episode today, practical brain tools you can use to do something better. And today's episode is about learning. There are 3 tools that are so amazing. They accelerate learning across the board for everyone, and they're so simple. You already might be doing them sometimes from time to time, not aware of that. But if you use them every single time, then your learning process is going to accelerate. And these tools are simple. And when you accelerate your learning, you're going to be changing into who you want to be much faster. And that will allow you to build faster the life that you want to live, right? The art and science of change, they're very important. They are the foundation of human existence. If we want to move forward, if we want to change, if we want to grow, we got to learn how to learn and change faster. Right, so learning, how to improve, accelerate, increase the rate of your learning. 3 things here. Number 1, stress yourself after the learning episode. What do I mean by that? When adrenaline in our brain, in our body, is increased after the learning episode, we memorize that much, much faster. Because neuroscientists think that, evolutionarily, when you go through some danger, we would remember everything that happened before that danger. Why? So next time we don't get into that dangerous situation and it doesn't threaten our survival, our life. Right? So when we release adrenaline, probably something dangerous, uncomfortable, possibly threatening happening. So the brain would make us remember everything that came before that. So we eliminate or escape danger before it happens, right? So when adrenaline rushes, the brain makes a note of what happened before that. So remember, before that. So you need to raise your adrenaline after the learning bout. Now, there are different tools you can use to spike that adrenaline. On one of the podcasts that I was guest on, the host made a joke. So maybe I should get him punched into face, right after a learning episode. That will make it remember. Well, that will make it remember. But, of course, it was a joke. You cannot get into fight or argument. That for sure will raise your adrenaline, but it's not like a productive thing to do. What you can do, if it's first part of the day and you consume caffeine, use your coffee after learning. But there is a detail, like your base level of adrenaline has to be lower. So if you've been drinking coffee throughout the whole learning morning, for example, then it's not going to have this effect. Or if you're used, like myself, to a certain amount of caffeine and it doesn't really change anything in your system anymore. But if you are not a regular coffee user, right? You can try to have a little bit of caffeine that will boost your adrenaline production right after learning. And that will raise the adrenaline and make your brain remember what is prior to that much faster and much better. Now, another way I find it more convenient is breathing. Hyperventilating breathing will raise adrenaline in your brain, in your body. So, that breathing that I talked many times on this podcast about, right? 25, 30 times, a couple of cycles right after learning bout will increase your adrenaline, will help you to remember. Also, cold shower will increase your adrenaline, will increase your stress in the body and in the brain, and that will help you to remember, right? So if you've been studying for 2-3 hours and the information you want to remember it, then go take a cold shower right after that. Also, doing very intense exercise will spike those stress hormones. So maybe do something really, really intense for 5 minutes. That will also help. And in general, just remember that spiking your adrenaline, your cortisol, your stress hormones right after learning bout will help your brain to learn much faster. It's been written about and talked about in some research and on great podcasts, like one of those podcasts, my favorite, by Andrew Huberman, one of the leading and most popular neuroscientists out there these days, right? So I find the most useful methods to spike that adrenaline to hyperventilation, breathing available everywhere. You don't have to even change your position. You can be sitting at your desk. And also cold shower, also very convenient. And that is if you are in the environment where you can take cold shower to refresh, right? Doesn't have to be long. Just make it cold, get in, stay there for, a minute, a couple of minutes, and get out. So, but breathing, again, the most universally available, convenient way to raise your adrenaline levels. So that is tool number 1, spike your stress after learning bout. Tool number 2 to accelerate your learning is prime your learning with novelty. What I mean by that? When we experience something new, and it doesn't have to be something grand and big, it might be you change your position. Like instead of working at one desk or position or chair, you change the chair, or you move it to a different location in your room. Or do something novel right before that learning bout. Maybe go for a walk, short walk, a different route. Maybe listen to some novel music that you've never heard before, right? Just put something random. Maybe learn a new dance move, or watch something new, something that, is totally like you do not expect that. When we experience something novel, we boost our dopamine release, because dopamine is very novelty sensitive. Novelty is one of those things that really boosts and drives our dopamine. Trying new foods, or listening to a new piece of music, or meeting a new person, or going into a new environment, or again just changing where you usually learn or work. Maybe going to learn in a new coffee shop, or maybe just changing again your seat there where you usually do your learning and you working. Introducing novelty boosts the dopamine release, and dopamine is one of the primary molecules that drives learning, because again, evolutionarily, what novelty would mean is there are potentially new resources that could help us thrive and survive and live better lives, have better chance to get more resources, right? So novelty drives dopamine. Dopamine is involved in our learning, in paying attention, in staying focused. So when you start your learning bout, and again, that's been written in really good studies, when you start your learning bout with some novelty, you release that dopamine that will help to wire that information that you're learning, or whatever skill you are attempting to learn. So start with novelty, and again, doesn't have to be something big. Just change your position, try new food, listen to new music, try a new dance move, go for a short walk. Also will help with a lot of learning modalities. It will increase your blood circulation to the brain, and perhaps there is sunlight outside when you walk, and that will also boost your dopamine and help with learning. But the main idea is start with novelty. So start with novelty, then learn, then spike your adrenaline. This is kind of your routine for learning that will, again, accelerate your learning. How much? Different studies, different novel environments, how you going to trigger that stress. For different people, it's going to be a little bit different, obviously, but it is going to be boosting your learning process. That's 100%. And the third tool or lifestyle change or habit that you want to use if you want to accelerate your learning. Number one, understanding that sleep is essential. It's kind of like training in the gym. You train in the gym, you trigger the change, the adaptation, but to wire it in, to make your muscles adapt and grow and recover and get better, you actually need to sleep for that. The same happens for your cognitive abilities, for your mental muscles. If you learn something, but then after that, you don't have a good night's sleep, and again, plenty of research confirming that, then you're not going to be remembering that much. You're going to be throwing away a lot of that progress that you did towards learning. So good night of sleep is essential. But then also what can help you accelerate that learning, you stress yourself with some with something that makes your body, your brain release more adrenaline and the cortisol. And then after that, perhaps in a little while, take a nap. Take a power nap. A power nap is a short nap, like 10, 30 minutes. And that helps to put this information into long storage faster sleep. So cognitive performance increases after power naps, and what it also triggers is your brain puts what you learn into long term storage faster. Naps, sleep, learning accelerators, no doubt about that, right? So if you can take power nap, then do that. If you can't, just make sure to have a good night of sleep after your day of learning, especially if you are preparing for something important or you're learning important for your work, for your life skills, then you want to have a good night's sleep after that learning. And that's it, guys. So this is your practical for accelerated learning. You probably thought that I will be teaching you some skills that will unlock your full brain potential. Well, I kind of was teaching you those skills. It's just not about specific memory techniques. By the way, if you want to learn those specific memory techniques, do let me know, because there are better ways of memorizing information. And things like names or lists or anything really, right? If you want to learn more about efficient memory techniques, then please do let me know. I'm going to bring an expert. I'm going to deliver to you the best tools that are easy and fast to learn. That's about memory, but learning even before, all these memory techniques, these are the tools that are more foundational than your memory techniques. So if you spike novelty at the beginning of your learning bout, if you spike adrenaline and stress at the end of your learning bout, if you have a good night's sleep on that day after learning, you're going to be building this foundation without which no memory technique will really work all that well. For novelty, for raising your stress levels after, these are true accelerators. That's how brain is wired to learn faster. It doesn't matter what techniques you use, what you learn, you're gonna remember it better, you're gonna learn it faster, you're gonna build those skills faster, right? So novelty before, stress after, and sleep on that night. And that's it for our first episode of your Brains Coach podcast, Applied Neuroscience for Leaders, Entrepreneurs, and High Performers. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to reach out. Please share this episode with people because when you teach it, you get to learn it twice. You get to remember it better. Right? Share this insight, help other people, help me to help other people, and always reach out if you have a question or if you want to say thank you, that these tools are amazing. Also, please do so. And till next time, practice the skills because power is all in the practice. And I'll talk to you very soon.